What's up, guys? Sean Fowler here with Speak Up Sports. Hopefully everybody's having a great Wednesday. Some sports news. Obviously, we have the NBA Finals tomorrow. Game 6, Celtics facing off against the Golden State Warriors. I said the Warriors in 6 coming into this series. It's been very competitive. But today, we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about the NFL, and that's football, obviously. National Football League, my favorite sport. I think America's favorite sport as well. And, last week, I gave my top 5 favorite quarterbacks in the league, currently today. Today I'm switching up a little bit. I played running back when I was playing football. I played running back, safety, a little bit of slot receiver, but mostly running back. The thing about being a running back is probably the most fun, honestly, I had playing because, you set up your blocks, you set up your blocks and things like that. You know when you're going to score if you have that speed. You know what I mean? If you're going to score a touchdown before the crowd even does. And one of the best things I like playing, the running back position is getting those long touchdowns. It's nothing like having a long run, having a long touchdown, and just really scoring and hearing the guy behind you trying to chase you for 50 yards, hearing his breath, like and he's trying to get you. So yeah, what's up, guys? What's up? I see you, Dad. In the comment section, but it's nothing like scoring a long touchdown and you're really just racing to the end zone. I'm looking at that orange pile line. If I got 40 yards to go, 50, however long it is, and doing the little stutter steps, trying to get the defender off of you, make him jump. Juking. I wasn't the biggest juker. I love stiff arming folks too. And just really getting the ball in the end zone, diving in the end zone, things like that. So the running back position is really in today's league. It's a little different because I don't, today the NFL is more pass centric. You have to have a quarterback pretty much to make a Super Bowl team. To be a Super Bowl contender, I should say, you have to have at least probably a top 15 quarterback to at least be a serious threat. We've seen times before the Adrian Petersons in the world where he had 2,000 rushing yards. His team made it to the wild card round, but they didn't have the best quarterback. And 2012 season, I think it was Christian Ponder, and they didn't win a playoff game. They got beat the first round. So having a running back, I could say they're kind of expendable in a way. But at the same time, when you do have one, it can help. It could definitely help the team, especially if you have a comparable quarterback as well to be that 1-2 punch. So for me, these are my top 5 running backs in the NFL today. It changes from time to time. Sometimes throughout the season, but also it could change. Just for the next year as well. So. These are my top 5 running backs today. Starting number 5, I got the guy from Minnesota, number 33, Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, to me, he was only listed as 210. He's 5'10". That's about my height, 210 pounds. He's a fast guy. I think he ran a 4.4 in the combine, come out of Florida State. So he has the speed. He's definitely has, he's physical. He has the power as well. But I like Dalvin Cook because, again, I like how shifty he is. I like how he's a north and south runner. Not the most, he's not necessarily going to juke you out, but he'll run through you. He can make plays out the backfield. He can catch the football. He can run. He has the speed. And we'll look at some of the clips here. But I like Dalvin Cook because he's physical and he just looks. He just plays the running back position in a physical way. And again, we'll turn down the sound. We'll see some of the clips here. And again, this is a Thursday night game against Pittsburgh. He had over 224, I believe, rushing yards. And, we'll see right here. There goes the explosion. It's running, lowers his head, gets the extra yards. There he goes again on the stretch play. Running through him, extra yards again, lowers his head. He's just a physical runner. That's what I really respect about Dalvin Cook. Last year, he had almost 1,200 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns, And he also missed a couple games last year. He didn't play the full 17 games. So, this is what Dalvin Cook can do. Again, in Minnesota, they're a decent team. They're a decent team. They have Kirk Cousins, like I said. He's borderline top 15. So, if you have a solid running back and a solid quarterback, then, I believe you can be successful. But, he's really one of their important pieces.
On your mic. Which is that over there? Let's be fine.
So, Dalvin Cook, to me, I say he's at number 5 right now. Again, this is his best game of the season against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm trying to mess with this mic, guys. Make sure I got it. Yeah. If you guys can hear me, just give me a thumbs up on the comment section. They'll be good to go. But Dalvin Cook, for me, is number 5. I think he's the 5th best running back in the game today. Again, he had almost 1,200 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. And, he's just explosive. I like how he runs the ball. He runs pretty hard. And he's a north and south runner, too. I respect that. So, going to number 4. This is a guy who just played in the Super Bowl as well. His quarterback, we seen what can happen. I mentioned before that if you don't have a quarterback, then it's going to be kind of tough to make any type of deep playoff run. But if you do have a quarterback that's above average and you have a stud running back, you could be a Super Bowl team. You could be a Super Bowl team. So, with this guy, they just made the Super Bowl. I think he was a big piece as well for them. I believe that if they continue to feed him the ball, I feel like they should have given the ball a lot more in the Super Bowl. I know I forget their backup running back's name, but he was decent. But I feel like in the crucial downs, they didn't hand this guy the ball, and I feel like if they did, they possibly could have won a Super Bowl. And that's Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon as well. He's a physical back. We see right here in the stretch play against the Minnesota Vikings, first game of the year. He's not necessarily the fastest guy, but what I like about Joe Mixon is he can catch the ball at the backfield. He knows he has some good acceleration, and he's a little shifty. He can make the one cut and get north and south, lowers his helmet always. The thing I really like about these running backs, guys, is that they always, they always lean forward. You don't really see a lot of times they get caught in the backfield and there's no play. There's no gain, I should say. So again, Joe Mixon also, he was on my fantasy team, so I had to get him. And he definitely, I got to the Super Bowl in the fantasy championship, I should say, because of Joe Mixon. Him and Nick Chubb were my 1-2 punch coming out the AFC North. It don't hurt to have a little dance moves too. You know what I mean? So Joe Mixon, his stats from last year, 1,200 yards, even 13 rushing touchdowns. And again, we just see what he can do out the backfield. Very good cuts. Not the fastest guy, but I like that he can catch the ball at the backfield as well. I believe they might show it in these couple clips. I think this is it right here. Yep, here it is. Come out the backfield. Runs a 5-yard out. Get north to south. A good block by Jamar Chase and gets in the end zone. So Joe Mixon, there go with the dance moves again. I definitely respect him. I believe last year was his 3rd year in the league so far. And he's definitely he's the workhorse for the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I feel like they should have used him more in the Super Bowl. I feel like, they, even though the Rams have a solid defense, especially that time with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Michael Floyd, or Leonard Floyd, and those guys, they were a stout defense. But if you got a guy like this who can lower his helmet, continue to push for the extra yards, I mean, Cincinnati lost 23-20, I think. It came down to the wire. So you give him the ball in the red zone and 3rd and 1 situations, maybe they deem, they might be successful. So Joe Mixon is, my number 4 as far as the top running backs in today's game. And we're going to go to number 3 now. So number 3, it's another AFC guy. You know what, guys? The last 3 remaining are all AFC, and the AFC is definitely going to stack this year. We already know what happened in the free agency. Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams moving to the AFC. So it's a lot of the AFC is really stacked this year, I should say, when it comes towards talent. But this guy, breakout season. I think it was his 2nd year. Maybe it could have been. I think his rookie year. I think it was his 2nd year. But that's Jonathan Taylor come out of Indianapolis. Only 23 years old, and he had a breakout year. He had 18 touchdowns, over 1,800 rushing yards as well. And the thing I like about Jonathan Taylor is his cuts. He goes east and west sometimes when the play needs him to on those long stretch plays. But he knows how to break in with his cuts and get upfield. And he has speed. I think it was against the Arizona Cardinals. They recorded him at 21 miles per hour. That's taken off. We see here against the Miami Dolphins. He's fast, and he just knows how to get to where he's going. And here goes a play right here. I think this is it. Swing route, gets upfield, clean. Nobody touches him. That's a touchdown. Monday Night Football. I was watching that game. Great game against the Baltimore Ravens. And, so Jonathan Taylor, if anybody had him on the fantasy team, he was definitely one of the best players in the league. I think my cousin had him, and he got like 47 points for him. And I'm not going to get too deep into fantasy football for the people who don't understand it, but, that's huge. People win money off of that. So him just, getting all these chunks and all these yards and things like that, it just proves that, he definitely proved he's one of the best backs in the league. Now, he did have the most rushing yards this season. However, I'm not going to put him at number one yet because I like consistency. I want to see how you do, the next couple of years. Are you the same when the defenses know that, they're game planning on you? And again, when we come towards quarterback and running backs, let me make sure I see the comment. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Appreciate it. Thank you for the compliments. But when it comes towards the quarterbacks and the running backs, they had Carson Wentz last year, and now they have Matt Ryan. So again, Jonathan Taylor, I believe, played his position better than Carson Wentz did. We see the speed right here against the Houston Texans. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why he's one of the best backs in the league. But going back towards my point, they had Carson Wentz last year. They kind of used him as a game manager. Carson Wentz wasn't what he once was in Philadelphia, but when you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor as well, hey, we can feed him. He's going to be the workhorse. We're going to give him 25 to 30 carries a game and see what he can do. Now that they got rid of Carson Wentz, he didn't have the worst season. I think he had 27 touchdowns, over 10 interceptions. They got rid of him and brought in my quarterback, Matty Ice. Shout out to Atlanta Falcons. They brought in Matt Ryan. Now you're giving your running back, we don't have to feed him the ball too much. We can learn to, lean more to play action, throw a little bit more. We don't have to view Matt Ryan as a game manager quarterback. He's a former MVP some years ago. He has some playoff experience. So Jonathan Taylor, I think his season can only get better, bringing in the Matt Ryan, having an experienced quarterback who's been there and done that. No offense to Carson Wentz, but he hasn't had the success that Matt Ryan's had. So I think even if Matt Ryan's in his career, I should say, or in his prime, that will continue to help Jonathan Taylor continue to get better, put up his stats. So I don't really expect him – see Jonathan Taylor have maybe 1,800 yards, again, 18 touchdowns. That's because they have more of a comparable quarterback, coming in and the leadership. But at the same time, what I like about Jonathan Taylor was, again, his speed, his breaks in and out of cuts. Let's just show one more clip real quick. And what he was able to do this season. So we see there again, he also can, catch the ball at the backfield. So I respect that about Jonathan Taylor, and he definitely deserves to be the top 5 running back this year. And going to number 2, now this might be a little surprising to some. You know what I mean? I told you we're going to have the last couple running backs are going to be from the AFC. And a lot of people say he's the best running back. He's been the best running back for the last 3 seasons, I should say. And I want to disagree with that. But he got injured this year. But the crazy thing is, I'm going to say his stats before I even name who it is. He had over 937 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and he didn't even play 11 or 12 games. I think he only played like 8 to 9 games. He only played half of the season. He still was leading the lead in rushing, at that particular point. At that particular point, that's Derrick Henry. That's Derrick Henry, huge man. I think he's like 6'2", 240 plus, ran a 4.3 in the combine. Come out of Alabama, Roll Tide, even though I don't like the Alabama Crimson. I'm a Gator fan, Gator Nation. Shout out to Gator Nation fans. But the point, though, is that, Derrick Henry, he's definitely one of the best running backs today. And I'll explain why he's not my number 1 as of right now. And that's really just because, of his health this past season. He wasn't healthy for majority of the season. But when you take that type of pounding, it's only so much you can really do. You're bound to, even if you're a big guy, you're bound to get hurt sometime. And, when he came back in a playoff game, you know, they weren't necessarily successful. You know, he didn't have the best playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals, but I mean, I still think he's one of the best backs today. We see right here, you know, he's able to get up the field, lower his helmet on Micah Hyde. That was a business decision. That's why I play safety as well. You don't want to tackle that type of dude. You know, you don't want to tackle guys that's smarter than him. That's 230 plus, but let alone 6'4", 240. You don't want to tackle that. And we see it right here. There goes Micah Hyde again. It's an 85-yard touchdown run. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just showing what Derrick Henry can do. He has the big playability. He can. I think every year he at least has an 80-yard run or a 90-yard run where he just makes the defense look silly. And it's always on prime time. This is a Monday night football game. You know, 76-yard touchdown run. Exactly. The fan is like, damn, did that just happen? Yeah, it happened. And again, this is against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a division foe, and he just finds a way to get in the end zone. I think a couple years ago he had like 18 touchdowns. Last year he had 10 touchdowns. He only played 10 to 11 games. You know, so here goes Jacksonville again. Let's see if this is going to break long. Breaks a tackle, gets upfield, gets about 15 to almost 20 yards, you know, on that run. You know, so Derrick Henry, I mean, he's definitely, if not the best running back today. I have him number 2 just because of his health, to be honest. You know, I feel like I like to see him kind of show up a little bit more in the playoff games. You know, he's definitely a stud. I can't say nothing about him, but it just seems like the playoff games that he's played in we haven't seen that explosion. We haven't seen that 2,000-yard running back in that game. Obviously, I'm not saying he should run for 2,000 yards in a game, but I feel like, you know, the games that they lost a couple years ago, AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, you know, I didn't really see that. I think he had a passing touchdown. He might have had a 2-yard touchdown run in the 2019 AFC Championship game, but he didn't. I didn't really see that. I don't think he had 100 yards that game. And for somebody that, you know, when it comes towards a quarterback running back combo, they lean more on Derrick Henry because Ryan Tannehill is similar towards Kirk Cousins. He's more that middle, you know, middle of the pack quarterback. He's okay. He's kind of a dual threat. He can run with his legs as well. But they're definitely on Derrick Henry to get the job done. You know, so with Derrick Henry, again, he's one of the best backs in the league. But I just want to see him continue to show that consistency in the playoffs. You know, when it comes down to the AFC Championship games, the divisional rounds. They lost last year against the Cincinnati Bengals. I know that was his first game back. But Deontay Foreman looked just as good as him, to be honest. And again, it's no slack on Derrick Henry. He's still one of the best backs. He can catch the ball better than people know, or better than people think he can as well. You know, but Derrick Henry, he's number 2 for me, and we're gonna go to number 1 now. So, like I said before, guys, these are my top 5 running backs in the NFL today. Number 5 so far, we got Dalvin Cook. You know, he ran for almost 1,200 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. Number 4, Joe Mixon, 1,200 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. Number three was the leading rusher of the year, Jonathan Taylor. He had 1,800 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns. Also had some big plays out the backfield when it came towards receiving. And this is my number 1 right here. This might be a surprise to some, but you know what? I talked about fantasy football coming in, right? I had this guy as my fantasy running back for the last 2 years. He always, it's not trying to be biased, but he always gives me points. And this is going to be a surprising stat when you guys see this real quick. And that's Nick Chubb from Georgia, straight out of Georgia. You know, but before I show the clips real quick, I'm just going to read this stat, okay? Now, Jonathan Taylor, the leading rusher this year, he had over 300 carries. You know, when you have over 300 carries, I mean, hey, you better be putting that work. But it's no slight on him. You know, he got 1,800 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns. But Nick Chubb, out of all the guys that I mentioned, right, he only had 228 carries. And I say only because for you guys that know football, you know, Kareem Hunt is the other running back who was a top 5 running back some years ago, you know, before they shipped him off to Cleveland. You know, he played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a very good running back as well. He's probably arguably top 15, could be top 10 if he was a starter. But the point, though, is that, you know, when you're a running back that's sharing carries, you don't get as many opportunities as other guys have. You know, so Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, and Dalvin Cook, they had twice as many. I'm not going to say they had twice as many carries, but they all had more carries than Nick Chubb had. But Nick Chubb still was the second leading rusher in the whole NFL. He had almost 1,300 rushing yards. He had the second most 20-yard runs out of anybody in the NFL. And he had 8 touchdowns last year. So let's go ahead and get to the highlights real quick for Derrick Henry. I think he's definitely – excuse me. I'm reading some of the comments. All-time favorite running back, Tony Dorsett, Franco Harris. Okay, it's back in the day. I respect it. But this is Nick Chubb here, and let's see some of the highlights. First game of the season against the Kansas City Chiefs, 20-yard run, made it look smooth. And Nick Chubb, he's not the most celebrated guy. You know what I mean? He doesn't really celebrate. He just gets the job done. As my coach like to say, old school. He just brings his lunch pill. You know what I mean? He gets the job done. He's a blue collar guy. I hate when we always try to put the whole job thing compared to football, but it is what it is. That's what my coach used to say. I was kind of like that. I wasn't a big showboat until we got on the field and I was putting in work. But Nick Chubb definitely he's one of the best running backs to me. He's the best running back to me as of today. And what I like about Nick Chubb is he's always moving his legs. You know, he again, like I said before, coming into this list, you know, you rarely see him get caught in the backfield. And if he does get touched, if he gets touched in the backfield, he's going to be moving forward. You know, that's what I really respect about Nick Chubb. And you know, it's rare that he gets injured. And again, when you have a guy like a Kareem Hunt, you got fresh legs. I mean, you know, anytime you have another guy who's just as talented, I mean, it can definitely help out. So, you know, Nick Chubb, again, I think he's the best running back because he can also catch out the backfield. You know, when it comes towards, again, that quarterback running back combo, Baker Mayfield, to me, he's in the middle pack, you know, as well when it comes to his quarterbacks in the NFL, probably top 15. You know, now he's not necessarily an elite quarterback, but when you have a guy like a Nick Chubb and a Kareem Hunt, but Nick Chubb primarily, you know, it can only help the quarterback because you can give him the ball 25 to 30 times a game and he can put in work. You know, so Nick Chubb, again, we just see what he can do. Let's look at some of these highlights. Against the Minnesota Vikings, here he goes. You know, the stretch play was one of his better plays. It's really when you and the guys, this some tips from running backs. When you have the stretch play, you have good